The question number 1. A system X is neither in thermal equilibrium with Y nor with Z. The systems Y and Z, A must be in thermal equilibrium, B cannot be in thermal equilibrium, C may be in thermal equilibrium. This question is completely based on zeroth law of thermodynamics. So what is that? Listen properly. First of all, this is the A is a body which is in thermal equilibrium with B, and this is the body A, it is in thermal equilibrium with C. Then what is that here? B and C are also in thermal equilibrium. That means A and B are in thermal equilibrium, A and C are in thermal equilibrium, finally B and C are also in thermal equilibrium. But in given question, what is that here? System X is neither in thermal equilibrium with Y nor with Z. So that means must be in thermal equilibrium. Y, Z must be in thermal equilibrium. It is not possible. Cannot be in thermal equilibrium. It is also not possible. May be in thermal equilibrium is possible. So that's why the option C is correct. The question number 2. Which of the curves in the figure represents the relation between Celsius and Fahrenheit temperatures? So this is the diagram. So first of all, to answer this one, we will write the relation between Celsius and Fahrenheit scale. That is C by 100 is equal to F minus 32 divided by 180. 0, 0 cancel. 2 5s are and 2 9s are. So here C by 5 is equal to F minus 32 divided by 9. Here F minus 32 is equal to 9 by 5 C and F is equal to 9 by 5 C plus 32. So or otherwise we will write like this also. That is from here C is equal to 5 by 9 times F minus 32. So C is equal to 5 by 9F minus 5 into 32 divided by 9. So we have to compare this relation with y equal to mx plus c. That is y is equal to mx plus c. This is equation number 1. This is equation number 2. Compare these two. Which one we are getting here? M is equal to 5 by 9. And here what is C is equal to? Minus 5 into 32 by 9. Remember this one. This M is called slope. What about the slope here? We are getting positive. And here what is C here? That one is known as the y-intercept. What about y-intercept here? Negative. So the graph which represents slope is positive and y-intercept is negative. So which graph is suitable for this one? The graph A is suitable. So that's why this is the answer for question number 2. Question number 3. Which of the following pairs may give equal numerical values of the temperature of a body? A. Fahrenheit and Kelvin scale. B. Celsius and Kelvin scale. C. Kelvin and platinum scale. So here to answer this one, this is single correct option. So that is maybe the possibility of Fahrenheit and Kelvin scale. I will write the relation between Fahrenheit and Kelvin scale. So first of all, K minus 273.15 divided by 100 is equal to F minus 32 divided by 180. So here 0, 0 cancel. Here 5, here 9. So here K minus 273.15 divided by 5 is equal to F minus 32 divided by 9. But here what is given? May be equal numerical values of temperatures of a body. Which of the following pairs? So that's why I will take here K is equal to F. So I will write like this. F minus 273.15 is equal to 5 by 9 times F minus 32. Why? Because both K and F are equal. K is equal to F I am taking here. So F minus 273.15 is equal to 5F by 9 minus 5 into 32 by 9. That is 160 divided by 9. So here 5F by 9, F that side minus F is equal to minus 273.15 here this side plus 160 divided by 9. So what we are getting here, minus 4F by 9 is equal to answer minus 273.15 plus 17.77. So here minus 4F divided by 9 is equal to, on subtraction of this one we are getting minus 255.38. Both side minus, no, that is plus. So here I want to calculate F is equal to 9 by 4 times 255.38. So on simplification of this one we are getting the value 574.6. This is F value. But actually what we got here, what is this one? K is equal to F. That means K is equal to F is equal to 574.6. That means 574.6 degrees Fahrenheit is equal to 574.6 Kelvin. So which scale is suitable for this? Option A is suitable. And also we are having relation, that is degrees Fahrenheit is equal to degrees Celsius is equal to minus 40. So this is also one relation we are having. So this is one relation and this is also another relation. According to our problem, which relation here? 574.6 degree Fahrenheit is equal to 574.6 Kelvin. A option is correct for the question number. Here, the question number 4. For a constant volume gas thermometer, one should fill the gas at A. Low temperature and low pressure. B. Low temperature and high pressure. C. High temperature and low pressure. D. High temperature and higher pressure. But actually, for constant volume gas thermometer, the property used in construction, what is that? Volume must be kept constant. There what happens? Pressure increases monotonically with increasing temperature. Whenever the temperature increases, pressure increases. So that's why which we were to take? First one. Low temperature and low pressure, not possible. And low temperature and high pressure, this is also not possible. As the temperature increases, pressure increases gradually, continuation. This is not possible. And third one, high temperature and low pressure. Whenever the high temperature is possibility, low pressure. That means whenever the temperature increases, pressure also increases. So that's why option C correct. We will check D, high temperature and high pressure. So both are taking high pressure and high temperature. It is not possibility to obey this property in the construction of volume gas thermometer. So the only option C is correct for this question. Here the question number 5, that is, consider the following statements. A. The coefficient of linear expansion has dimension k to the power of minus 1. B. The coefficient of volume expansion has the dimension k to the power of minus 1. So those are the statements are given and the options A and B are both correct. A is correct but B is wrong. C. B is correct but A is wrong. D. A and B are both wrong. So to identify which option is correct, first of all, statement A. I am taking here the statement A. Coefficient of linear expansion, that is represented by means of alpha, is equal to formula L2 minus L1 divided by L1 into delta T. So here L2 minus L1 we will get length only and here length get cancelled. So what is the remaining here? Temperature. So that unit what you will write here? Per degree Kelvin, or otherwise per degree centigrade. So what is the dimensional formula for this one? M to the power of 0, L to the power of 0, T to the power of 0, and K to the power of minus 1. So here statement A is correct. Now I will take B. Coefficient of volume expansion. So coefficient of volume expansion can be represented by means of gamma is equal to V2 minus V1 divided by V1 into delta T. So what is this here? Change in volume by original volume. Both gets cancelled. That is units gets cancelled. Here temperature remains. This is also per degree Kelvin or per degree centigrade are the units for coefficient of volume expansion. So here what is the dimensional formula for this? That is also m to the power of 0, n to the power of 0, t to the power of 0 and k to the power of minus 1. Now see that option B is also correct. So which statement is correct here? A and B are both correct. So option A is the correct solution for question number 5. Here the question number 6. A metal sheet with a circular hole is heated, then the hole. What about the size of the hole? A gets larger, bigger or not? B gets smaller, or C remains as of the same? D gets deformed. That means shape of the hole changes. It's bigger, smaller or remains same or gets deformed. To answer this one, first of all, when the metal plate with a circular hole is heated, the distance between the molecules on the periphery of the hole should increase due to expansion. Hence, the diameter of the hole increases. What is meant by the periphery? The outer edge of the particular area. Listen here. When the metal plate with a circular hole is heated, the distance between the molecules on the periphery of the hole should increase due to expansion. When due to the expansion, whatever the molecules which are present, the distance between the molecules increases. Due to that, what happens here? Diameter of the hole increases. So that means diameter of the hole increases means what happens here? The size of the hole increases. So that means diameter increases like this, size of the hole increases. Which is the correct option here? Gets larger. That is the solution for question number 6. Here, the question number 7. Two identical rectangular strips, one of the copper, other of steel, are riveted together to form a bimetal strip, alpha of copper greater than alpha of steel. That is, coefficient of linear expansion of copper is greater than the coefficient of linear expansion of steel. Those on heating, what happens to the strip will A. Remain straight, that remains straight, or bend with copper on convex side, or bend with steel on convex side, or get twisted. Twisted means it should be changes into any other shape. So here, first of all, we know the values of alpha of copper 20 into 10 to the power of minus 6 per degree centigrade. Alpha of steel is that is 11 into 10 to the power of minus 6 per degree centigrade. But here, what is meant by the bimetal strip? Bimetal strip is nothing but two metals are joined. Those are contains two different linear expansion of steels, and also those can expand differently with the same rise in temperature. That is known as the bimetal strip. So here bimetal strip works on the principle of different metals expands differently for the same rise in temperature. That is, now here first of all I will take at room temperature. So this is the bimetal strip. So upper part, that one is steel, and the lower part, that one is copper. At the room temperature, which remains in a straight, at room temperature that remains straight, and then the temperature increases. What happens here? So at higher higher temperature, what happens at higher temperature? Then immediately what happens here? This bimetal strip turns like this. So here the upper part is steel and the lower part is copper. So observe this one. Steel is present in which side this is? Concave side. Copper in which side? That is convex side. Now at lower temperature what happens? At lower temperature what happens? Now the bimetal strip changes into the shape like this. So upper part is steel and the lower part is copper. So steel in which side, that is convex side. Copper in which side? Concave side. So that means here option C, that on heating means what is that? Temperature rises. Temperature rises, higher temperature. Higher temperature bend with copper on convex side. Copper is present in which side? Convex side. So that's why which option is correct here? Option B is the correct. Here the question number 8. If the temperature of a uniform rod is slightly increased by delta T, its moment of inertia I about a perpendicular bisector increases by A 0, B alpha I into delta T, C 2 alpha I delta T, and D 3 alpha delta T. So to solve this problem, first of all, here this is the uniform rod. So for this particular uniform rod, moment of inertia about the perpendicular to the rod, that is I naught is equal to m L naught whole square. But here I want, then what happens here? If it is temperature rises for this uniform rod, so what happens? Length increases. What is the length increased here? L is equal to L naught times 1 plus alpha into delta T. So then the affected moment of inertia, what is that here? I will take this one as I is equal to m L square divided by 12. Now I will substitute the L value here. That is m L naught square times 1 plus alpha into delta T whole square divided by 12. So here m L naught square divided by 12, 1 plus alpha into delta T whole square. So here by binomial expansion, binomial expansion, 1 plus alpha into delta T whole square can be written as 1 plus 2 into alpha into delta T plus dash 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 like that. Now I will write like this. M L naught square divided by 12 times 1 plus 2 into alpha into delta T. But already we know this m L naught square by 12. What is this one? I naught. So I will write like this. I naught times 1 plus 2 into alpha into delta T. So what is here? I. I will write like this. I is equal to I naught plus 2 into alpha into I into delta T. But here what is the question here? Its moment of inertia I about a perpendicular bisector increased by. So I here initially I naught, how much amount increased here? 2 alpha I delta T. Which one is option here? C option is correct for this question. Question number 9. If the temperature of a uniform rod is slightly increased by delta T, its moment of inertia I about a line parallel to itself will increase by A 0, B alpha I into delta T, C 2 alpha I delta T, D 3 alpha I delta T. So here this is the uniform rod. In the before case, we calculated that moment of inertia about perpendicular, but here parallel to that. That is I naught is equal to m L naught square by 2. So first of all, I will write here I naught is equal to m L naught square by 2. But here what happens in this case? L naught. But after rising temperature, that length must be increases. That length I will take L is equal to L naught times 1 plus alpha into delta t. Now I will take that increase the length for that moment of inertia I is equal to m L square divided by 2. Now I will substitute here L square is nothing but L naught square times 1 plus alpha into delta t whole square divided by 2. So here m L naught square divided by 2 times 1 plus alpha into delta t whole square by binomial expansion binomial expansion 1 plus alpha into delta t whole square can be written as 1 plus 2 alpha into delta t plus dash dash dash. But here alpha is very small. So that's why we neglect higher terms. So that's why I will take this one. Now in this case I is equal to I naught times 1 plus 2 into by I naught I wrote ml naught square by 2 is nothing but I naught into 1 plus 2 alpha into delta t. So multiplication I is equal to I naught plus 2 into alpha into I naught into delta t. But here moment of inertia I about a line parallel to itself will increase by. So here I naught is increased by how much here? 2 alpha I naught into delta t. So that means option C is the correct for this question. The question number 10. The temperature of water at the surface of a deep lake is 2 degrees centigrade. The temperature expected at the bottom is A 0 degrees centigrade, B 2 degrees centigrade, C 4 degrees centigrade, D 6 degrees centigrade. This question is purely based on anomalous expansion of water. Now, what is anomalous expansion of water? This anomalous expansion of water can be determined by using Hope's apparatus. So what is the meaning of this anomalous expansion of water? So here water expands in a special case, that is anomalous expansion of water. On heating water, what happens in this case? On heating water 0 degrees centigrade to 4 degrees centigrade, water contracts. From 4 degrees centigrade to 100 degrees centigrade, water expands. Similarly, on cooling the water from 100 degrees centigrade to 4 degrees centigrade contracts. Then 4 degrees to 0 degrees centigrade, again expansion will be takes place. So from here 4 degrees centigrade at whatever the condition we are taking, at 4 degrees centigrade volume of water and density of water is maximum at 4 degrees centigrade. That's why if we are defining the relative density also at 4 degrees centigrade we are taking. That means at 4 degrees centigrade volume and density of the water will be maximum. Here what happens? Hence all the water when come to 4 degrees centigrade go down and remains at the bottom. So that means on the surface of the water the temperature reaches to 4 degrees centigrade, immediately those will go to the deep of the lake. Then what happens here? The water at the bottom of the lake is more dense compared to the layers of the water above. So that means whatever the water surface, the molecules which are present on the water surface that becomes 4 degrees centigrade, those are all reaches to the bottom of the lake. So that means at the bottom of the lake, what is the temperature here condition here? The temperature at the bottom of the lake is 4 degrees centigrade is the correct option for this question. The question number 11. An aluminium sphere is dipped into water at 10 degrees centigrade. If the temperature is increased, the force of buoyancy, what happens to the force of buoyancy? Option A will increase, option B will decrease, option C will remain constant, D may increase or decrease depending on the radius of the sphere. So here, this is the question. To answer this question, first of all, I will take the water. Inside the water, I am taking aluminum sphere at 10 degrees centigrade. Just immerse into that. Immediately what happens here? Due to this 10 degrees centigrade of aluminum, water gets heated. And on the aluminum, there will be some amount of buoyantic force exerted by the water in upward direction, B initial. Remember that. Now, temperature of water increases, then leads to what happens here. First of all, aluminum starts expanding, leading to the increase in volume. That means aluminum starts expansion. In the aluminum sphere, expansion takes place means what happens here? Volume increases. Whenever the volume increases, surface area also increases. Whenever the surface area increases, pressure exerting on the surface of the water decreases. Why? Because pressure is inversely proportional to area. How much amount of area increases, that much amount of pressure decreases. So that's why pressure exerts on the surface of the water decreases. Due to that, what happens here? Volume submerged in the water is initially is greater than the final. Why? Because whenever the pressure exerting on the surface of the water decreases, the volume immersed in the water decreases. So that's why the aluminum sphere that should be floating easily in the water. So that's why in this case I wrote like this. There the buoyantic force exerting in the upward direction, that is BF, that buoyantic force final. So then what happens here? Volume initial is greater than volume final. What is this one here? Volume of the sphere immersed in the water initially is greater than the volume of the aluminum sphere immersed finally after increasing the temperature of the water. Then it leads to volume of the displaced water. Volume of the displaced water initially is greater than finally. So that means initial how much amount of water is displaced, that should be greater than the final displaced water. So finally what happens here? Buoyantic force initial is greater than buoyantic force final. Due to this relation, which option is correct here? The force of buoyancy will increase? No. Force of buoyancy will decrease. It is the correct option for this question.